We are so excited to be with you here today to talk about the Gemini solar month. And we are here with Divine Harmony, who was part of our Astro Priestesses summit that happened at the end of January, early February of this year, 2025. And she has said that she would partner with us on this today. So we're very excited about that. And one of the things that's really fun is she gave a talk on Jupiter and going and Venus conjunct Sirius, Jupiter going into Cancer. That whole was her whole talk, and that is still available for people who want it. And we'll put it in the show notes. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it because Jupiter's going into Cancer this month. So we get to
Yes.
talk about that. So it's perfect timing for her to be with us right now. So I love how these things can work out. And I thought I'd start out differently today than what we've done in the past by introducing Gemini, because we're going into the Gemini solar month on May 20th. And there's a couple of things I'll say about that, days of no shadows and solar zenith and all of that. But here, Gemini is these cards. I created these cards years and years ago, and on the back are invocations to each of the energies. And it's a way to just invite that energy to be present and also to get a little bit of understanding of what those energies are about. So for Gemini, we will say we invite the mysteries of Gemini, the element of air and the season before the summer solstice. I am the wandering minstrel, storyteller, and bringer of news and information. I am creative, magical, playful, and mischievous. I love to entertain you and channel the divine comedian. I am a trickster and a shapeshifter. I am the eternal youth and your ever-changing contrary. I get the cosmic joke and get you to laugh, reminding you not to take yourself too seriously, to have fun and play. I love to engage crazy wisdom, combining exceptional wisdom and magical power that often goes beyond conventional behavior. I respond to questions with another question or a riddle or a parable. I am the trickster, playfully inviting you to be your true fun self. So, so that just kind of
Hey,
gives us a sense of,
Gemini.
yeah, playful trickster energy, Gemini. So fun. I love that. So that's some of the underlying energy for the entire month. And this month is just so wild. We are in just the crazy wisdom of Gemini. And something that is I mentioned is the days of no shadows. So in certain latitudes, if you are 23 and a half degrees north or south of the equator, you will have days that are different every year, depending on your latitude, when the sun is directly overhead and no shadows are cast. And that's why they're called the days of no shadows. In Chichen Itza, the pyramid Kukulkan, the days of no shadows are May 19, 20, and 21, when the sun and the Pleiades are conjunct. And the pyramid is a serpent pyramid, and the Pleiades was considered by the Mayans to be the rattle of the snake. They called it Zahab, Tzab, Zahab. And so when the sun is exactly with the Pleiades, it's opening the portal on the days of no shadows. And literally, they built these zenith tubes that could only be lit up on these days. And that would light up caverns underneath the ground. So this is so exciting. I just love this solar season so much because of that. And so the sun will be with the Pleiades, or is with the Pleiades. You can't see the Pleiades right now, but you can see the sun. And then Mercury's going to enter Gemini and be with the Pleiades on May 25th. And we're going to come up to the out of bounds Gemini super new moon. It's going to be close to the Earth, and it's also going to be sitting between the Pleiades and Aldebaran. And this new moon is also featuring the conjunction, the first conjunction of Chiron and Eris and Aries, the first of three. There'll be two more, one in October and one in March of next year. And so there's a lot more we could say about that, but basically, this new moon is not only is it the first conjunction of Chiron and Eris in Aries since 1972, I think was the last conjunction. In 1971, there were two, and then 1972 was the last one. And there's, I mean, it's just there was so much going on back then. I actually did a video on that
Yes.
yesterday. And we're gonna, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes if you want more information about that, because it goes back into the history and so on. And then so these are some of the highlights. I'm also going to just say that June 9th, when Jupiter goes into Cancer, Mercury's going to square Neptune and Saturn. Jupiter enters Cancer, and Venus is square Pluto. Is a big day. We're going to talk probably more about that as we go. And then the Sagittarius full moon on June 11th is a very out of bounds full moon. We'll talk going over galactic center, and we'll talk more about that as well. And of course, I don't want to forget that Saturn's moving into Aries on May 24th, and there's just so much that's happening that we're just looking at another like off the charts wild month, and it is featuring crazy wisdom of Gemini. So with that, I'm going to let others fill in some of those pieces and probably add some things that I didn't mention.
Well, I would love to chime in. So first, what comes to mind to me, Gemini in tropical astrology is the twins, Castor and Pollux, the male twins. But actually, anciently, it was a male and a female, and it was a symbol of union. And she was the divine, immortal one, and he was the mortal one, the human one. And it was all about the sacred twins of the masculine and the feminine coming together. And so for me, that energy, when I go into Gemini season, like I often will feel that energy. It's like this focus on union of my own masculine and feminine, of my human self and my divine self, of work and play, or, immortal and mortal, or whatever other polarities, come to mind. And the new moon, as you mentioned, May 25th, has so much Gemini in the chart. It's kind of off the charts amazing. Like Sedna, Hygeia. So Sedna, the Inuit goddess, the mother of the ocean that brings up, what's in the unconscious. Hygeia, the goddess of healing and wholeness, and Mercury are all conjunct between 1 and 3 Gemini. Then we have the sun and the moon at 606 Gemini. And then Jupiter's at Gemini at 2655, almost hitting the anti-galactic center or the silver gate, which is at like 2711, I think, right now by precession. So there's so much infusion in this archetype of union, of the trickster, of play, of all these beautiful things you just shared with us in the invocation. Um, and the new moon also trines Pluto, sextiles the Saturn Neptune conjunction we're moving towards, and of course is the day of the first Chiron Eris conjunction. So it's a juicy new moon. And especially for starting new things, coming back to beginner's mind is one of, I think, the medicines of Gemini, because, Aries is the baby being born, while Gemini is the kid in school learning. And it's just like, oh, I'm always learning something new every day. And so Gemini has that capacity to be like, what else is there to learn? Maybe I should question that. Oh, wow, I've never seen it from that perspective. There's just this wonder and awe that comes with that age that sometimes adults lose touch with. But Gemini can help us, get back to it. Um, so yeah, I think this new moon's going to be pretty powerful.
I love this. And I love the wisdom that both of you are sharing. And Kaylin opening up with that invocation was so fun. And I feel like really connects us with the beautiful Gemini energy. And we have so much mutable energy this month with all this Gemini energy, Gemini being a mutable sign. And there's a lot of activation of squaring the lunar nodes and Pisces and Virgo this season. And anytime planets square or significant points square the lunar nodes, it's kind of like we're at this choice point or a fork in the road or timeline splitting between like, okay, are we going to maybe default towards our old habits and patterns and ways, or are we going to shift up our energy and maybe try something new that will um, kind of put us on a new trajectory towards for each of us, like what is our fate, what is our future, what is our destiny? We all have our lunar nodes somewhere. So our north node, which is kind of like, our North Star or a compass kind of guiding us forward in our life. But where the lunar node is in the sky, which is right now, the north node is in Pisces, that Pisces medicine is like the medicine needed to move in that direction to actually move each of us like towards our own north node. And Gemini to me is already this sign that's about like timelines and timeline splitting and choice points. And so there's a lot of possibility here. I feel the mutable access, I kind of call it the multidimensional access, like Pisces, where our north node is, this is the cosmic ocean of oneness, where all timelines are existing simultaneously, all possibilities are existing simultaneously, and we can dream and we can envision and we can connect with the higher realms of consciousness. And then Gemini, the next mutable sign on the cross, is an air sign. And it's like, wow, where we can see into all of those Pisces possibilities and our mind, we see what possibilities are like available to us at the moment or aligned to us. And it's like where we put our mental attention, which timelines out of all those Pisces multidimensional ones. It's like that's what we start attuning with. And with Gemini, it's fixed or not fixed, it's mutable air, right? So this is like seeing into new possibilities, new potentialities, new opportunities, and all this like out of bounds energy too, with the new moon and the full moon this season. I love as Kaylin often talks about, this is like outside the boundaries of ordinary reality. It's like there's all these wild card opportunities here. So there's this invitation, and even as Harmony, what you spoke about, the beginner's mindset to kind of come back to that beginner's mindset and open up our perception to see new possibilities, new potentialities, new opportunities. I really feel for each of us that's aligned with our own unique journey. If we can kind of come back to that like open our mind to have that openness like a child has. I have a toddler right now, and it's so fun. Like he's in this very Gemini phase of life where he's learning so much language, but also like his play, like he has this kind of like everything's like, why not kind of energy. Where as adults, we start getting these ideas about, okay, this is how reality works. And like our neural pathways as adults can get kind of, entrenched, or we have those more um, hardened or entrenched neural pathways. But as a child, it's kind of like, well, why can't we do it this way? Or like the way he'll play with a toy, I have my ideas as an adult of like, oh, this is how you play with a toy. And then he'll come up with all of these completely unique ways to play with the toy that's so creative and so inventive. And I'm like, my mind is blown. I'm like, wow. I like it's just that's like so much Gemini medicine is like, why not? Why can't I do things differently? I always go this pathway when I'm going to the store. Maybe I'll like walk a different pathway and see what happens. And so there's this invitation, and as uh, uh, Jupiter and Saturn are both moving from mutable signs, right? Jupiter's been in Gemini over this last year. Saturn has been in Pisces like the last 2.5 years. Those are mutable signs. They're moving to cardinal signs now. Jupiter meeting Neptune or catching up, moving towards Neptune and Aries. The exact conjunction is not till next year, but Saturn going from mutable to cardinal, Jupiter going from mutable to cardinal, Gemini to Cancer. Jupiter and Saturn, it's like these when the energies are very balanced. This is about manifestation, right? Jupiter, we connect to the higher realms of consciousness. We get inspired. We get the big vision, the big dream. And then Saturn is like, okay, how do we ground this into physical reality? And we're actually moving into the third Jupiter Saturn square of three squares we've had over this last year. My mind is like kind of, I have to look at my notes for a second, but I think the third square is like during this Gemini season. If somebody knows, feel free to.
It's June 15th at 1:18 Cancer Aries.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. And this is following up on two mutable squares we had last year. W- the second one was December 24th. The first one, I think, was like August, something like that. Anybody who knows, feel free to, I have it in my notes, but feel free to chime in. But the bigger picture is these squares are opening squares, and we're completing the third square this Gemini season. So something that started in 2024, which I think I have it written down. Darn it. I don't know if somebody wouldn't mind looking on
I'm
Windows.
looking it up right now. I
Oh,
have
thank
it.
you so much, Harmony.
Yeah.
I appreciate it because there might be a theme that you're noticing um this Gemini season that might tie back to those first two squares last year. And it really even goes back to deeper December, like the December solstice of 2020 was when Jupiter and Saturn started their cycle at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So the opening square is like we're completing that, and it's wanting to kind of push us in a new direction to move us towards what was seated then. So I know I kind of was like, woo, jumping all over the
I,
place. But
I
yeah.
found it.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So the first one was August 19th, Jupiter in Gemini square, retrograde Saturn in Pisces, the opening square. And then the second, as you mentioned, was on Christmas Eve. Um, and then this is the third one. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. So, and it really feels like they were first in mutable signs and now they're cardinal. So it feels like something like with the mutable energy, we're between worlds. It's like we're standing with one foot in two different worlds. It's like I love Gemini, Kaylin, as you've shared, it's like that rainbow bridge, that energy. So it feels like something that's been kind of in the like we've been connecting with it on the maybe more like energetic or etheric realm is starting to kind of like come down into physical reality that we can really start to manifest. And Saturn right now at 29 Pisces, as we're going into the season, it might actually feel kind of like a very heavy energy. Like, oh, it might actually feel like, oh, my dreams feel more out of reach than ever. Or we might feel kind of like despair or like giving up. But I feel like that there's some medicine in that, but there's some like shifting. Like there's we're being asked to adjust and shift, and I really feel new energy starting to open. So I'll leave it there for now.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so one way to look at the Jupiter and Saturn is they're middle world planets. We see them in our world. So they represent the vision and the structure of our reality. And when they work together, it's so amazing because we need the structure to have the experience, and then we need the vision of possibilities, Jupiter being connected to possibilities and vision and expansion of all of that. So they're working together, and I love everything you just said about that. And then harmony, the whole thing about the twins, of course, the constellation of the twins no longer is overlaid by the season of Gemini, but that I have boy-girl twins. So I've always felt, I mean, since I had them 40 years ago, that was significant and important that, as a feminine masculine I carried in my womb for a long time. And I was just thinking about that. These two doves just flew by my window side by side, like a sign. Like that's a sign, I feel like, of just energizing that. And so just already the magic is happening. And another thing about Gemini is it is about magic. How do we get our magic back if we've lost it? And I always recommend people watch the movie Hook with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman because Peter Pan lost his magic. He
Mhm.
got his magic and he became serious like Capricorn. Like I have to do this and I have to be the responsible one and I have to, support my family and do the thing. And then his children get abducted back to Neverland and he has to go back and remember his magic. And
Mhm.
it was through his happy thought is the ultimate thing that he had to find. And so it's a great way to really tune into the Gemini energy. And so just wanted to say that. And then as we're going from this Gemini new moon that is close to the earth, that is out of bounds, that is so powerful with Chiron and Eris conjunct. Chiron is about the shamanic healing, Eris is about chaos and discord. What is the chaos and discord we're needing to heal, and how are they working together to heal that? And then we move to when Jupiter moves into Cancer, Mercury's going to be right there. Crossing the zero Cancer point is currently on the galactic cross where the plane of our solar system intersects the plane of our galaxy, creating a cross in the sky in the center of the sacred hoop of stars. And that's at the edge of our galaxy. So when we look out at the stars there, which we won't see because the sun is there right now, but when we look there, that's where we're looking out past our galaxy. So we call it the edge of the galaxy where we're looking out beyond. So that's another thing that's really fun about the Gemini mysteries is it's about going beyond whatever we thought is real, not taking ourselves so seriously and recognizing that, we can be like the fool who jumps empty-handed into the void and trust that we're going to be supported with that. Right. So we'll have Mercury and Jupiter at 29 Gemini, the most comprehensive expression of Gemini, and then boom, it moves into Cancer. They both move into Cancer, and right on that cross. And so that's happening on June 9th. There's a couple of other things I think were mentioned, and I think Jupiter. Venus is square Pluto that day, and Mercury is going to square Neptune and Saturn, and there's the Mercury conjunction to Jupiter. So it's a powerful day, and it's 2 days before the full moon in Sagittarius, and it's an out of bounds, extremely out of bounds full moon, meaning that it's way below the ecliptic. And even though the full moon isn't exactly on galactic center, it will be passing galactic center while full, meaning it's transmitting from the heart of our galaxy to us during the full moon window. So, so powerful. And just another thing to say is that we are in a time when our whole entire solar system is moving through what's called the galactic current sheet. So not only do we have the moon amplifying and transmitting directly to Earth from galactic center, it's also amplifying and transmitting this galactic current sheet that is affecting us and the cosmic possibilities, that happen because our solar system only goes through this part of the galaxy every 30 million years. So, and it happens to be now, and it happens to last for hundreds of years, probably even more than that. But it amps up the energy. So these are the things that are happening, and I know you'll have more to say about this, so I'm going to pass this on. But oh my gosh, I'm so excited for us to experience this and to do so with intention and attention.
Yeah. Yeah, when you were talking about the magic of Gemini, like what came to mind was the power of our thoughts and how we speak. Words are spells. And so what we think and what we say and how that brings things into form. And so just like again, that's the coming back to beginner's mind. It's like where have the thoughts we've been thinking and some direction that maybe we're like, oh, wait, I don't know if I want to go in that direction, or maybe I need a shift or a change. And it can start on the level of the mind and literally what we're thinking and saying. The axis of Gemini and Sagittarius is like, obviously Gemini, beginner's mind, coming back to beginner's mind, but Sagittarius is the teacher, it has to do with beliefs, spiritual, philosophical, political, and otherwise. And ultimately, to straddle these two, we want to have conviction in what we believe in, and we want to be in pursuit of truth. And so constantly studying and learning and, reading or whatever it is that helps us make our, perception open and expand more and more. But we also don't want to stay stuck there to the point where we're like, oh, now I know everything. Now I'm the master. I am the always teacher, and I'm never the student because I've figured it all out, you know? And so Gemini and Sag are the balance points for each other. And then they're literally, you know, right there at the galactic center, 2711 Sagittarius, and the anti-galactic center, which I remember years ago, I was like studying this, and because I would have dreams about the galactic center. So I'm like, okay, let's learn about it. And I learned this thing that the galactic center is called the golden gateway. And the anti-galactic center is the silver gateway. And then I was just like, oh, it's gold like the sun, the grand central sun. And then the silver is of the moon. And so it's like the feminine and the masculine, or the yin and the yang, because there's lunar masculine and there's solar feminine. So it's really a quaternity. Um, and that visual of like the galactic center is the center of our Milky Way galaxy, this vast, like it almost incomprehensible thing until you see pictures of it, is the galactic center. It's the center of what we're going around, and so is lots of other stuff. But then, as you said, the silver gate is the edge of our galaxy, and it's like it's not just us. There's so many other galaxies out there, and sometimes we can get so like, oh, it's all about our own little corner of the universe, or it's about our own planet, or it's about our own religion, our own race, me and myself and my, you know, beliefs. And so going out to the galactic edge helps us to just see beyond ourselves, you know? And so then to have Jupiter transit that, to have Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, transiting over the opposite, the silver gate, at the new moon, is profound. And then when Jupiter moves into Cancer, which obviously that was part of my interview with you guys, and so there you can listen to more over there. But Jupiter's in exaltation in Cancer. It's one of the best signs for Jupiter to be. And actually, Jupiter will be heading to the most blessed degree of the whole entire zodiac on August 13th, and we'll be co-joining the fixed star Sirius. So we're heading into a pretty epic Jupiter transit. And this is specific to this time right now because the stars precess or process, however you want to say it. And like I know when I was born, Sirius was at 13 and change. I forget. I didn't look it up. Maybe 1343 for some reason. I think maybe that's what it was. But it slowly moves over time, as do all the stars. So right now, we are in this 72 year, because it takes 72 years to move through 1 degree. We're in a 72-year period, and we're almost at the exact midpoint of it, where Sirius is in the tropical zodiac is the exaltation degree of Jupiter. That happens once every 27,000 years. So then we're going to have Jupiter aligning at the exaltation degree. And it's just like, and obviously that's not in this month, but that's like getting kicked off, you know, as Jupiter transits into Cancer. And Cancer for me is always the divine mother. You know, on the ceiling of Dondera, actually, it's funny, the panels, they show all the constellations, but they also show, you know, the ones that are on the ecliptic, but also others. And if you look at it, there's the day signs and the night signs, and they're all up there. But Cancer is the only one that's not shown on the panels. It's shown as going into the heart or the womb of the mother, Nut. So Cancer is kind of singled out, either emerging from her womb or going into her womb, or emerging from her heart and her mouth or going in. And there's something very special about Cancer and this quality of the divine mother, you know, the creation of everything, the love and the tenderness and the kindness and the compassion, the empathy, the intuition. Jupiter in Cancer is great fertility wise. Anybody out there wants to have a baby? Like Jupiter in Cancer is a great time to get pregnant. It's also a great time to get pregnant without trying. So be careful if that's not your
I
plan
had
right.
that happen to me. My youngest son has Jupiter in Cancer.
Oh yes, it's like extra, extra fertile.
Right?
Yes. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to be phenomenal. Right after Jupiter moves in Cancer, it triggers Saturn and Neptune. So the 15th, as you mentioned, the Jupiter Saturn square, and then 3 days later on the 18th square Neptune, we're actually going to have both Saturn and Neptune station retrograde. Neptune July 4th and Saturn, I think it's July 13th, and they come within 13 minutes of their conjunction. They station 14 minutes, but then that is 13 minutes apart, energizing the conjunction that will happen in February. So it's really important, I think, to pay attention to the 15th through the 18th and what is coming in, it is a square, so squares generate friction. And it's like, okay, where are we being shown what we need to activate, what we need to open up to in a Jupiterian fashion, but also what discipline, mastery, hard work, dealing with reality, is also being asked of us. And I think we're going to get some big hints this June when Jupiter triggers them, and then July as they both station close to each other about what's going to be happening next February. So pay attention, and especially to your dreams. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. This is like all the cosmic wisdom that both of you are bringing in. This is like heaven for my Gemini Venus to get to learn all of this from both of you. And just kind of tuning in to going off of what both of you were sharing, with Mercury being, like the guardian of or the temple keeper of the Gemini mysteries that looking at what is Mercury doing through Gemini season, and Mercury is moving so quick in its cycle right now because it's going behind the sun and it's going to conjunct the sun just after that Gemini new moon. It's like the on the external side of the sun, the what is it, the superior I'm like, I think, yeah, the superior conjunction, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
on the other side of the sun, my mind is like, mixing up words with Saturn right on my Pisces, Mercury right now. But so Mercury starts I think it's middle, Mercury starts the cycle kind of near the middle of Taurus and then makes it so about the end of Taurus, starting Gemini season, just whips through Gemini over Gemini season. And then at the end of Gemini season, as we're going into the Cancer solstice, is going to be at 21 Cancer. So it's moving over 2 degrees a day. Like that is moving really fast for Mercury. And that's what happens as Mercury is traveling on the far side of the sun. And it's like, it feels like, for me, like thinking about it, like Mercury is making so many even like conjunctions by at least by zodiacal degree to so many different stars. It's like it's gonna travel across the Pleiades and getting like the Pleiadian wisdom, and then it's gonna like come into contact with Aldebaran, and then it's gonna go and like make it through Cancer and conjunct Sirius, and it feels like Mercury is like almost like um, okay, let me go and get like all the star wisdom for us. And like, even it feels like Mercury, because, Harmony, as you spoke about Cancer or J Jupiter, over the months to come, it's going to come and make that conjunction to Sirius. So it feels like Mercury, like the messenger, is like, okay, let me go first and get a little intel and get some messages. And so it feels like I love, Harmony, as you spoke to, like really paying attention to what's coming into our dreams. Because I feel like a lot of that star wisdom, at least for me, I can really often receive messages through my dreams, whether it's, Gemini can be a fast moving energy. It's very like, let's get out there and socialize and make connections. And it's a very, that's fun, but also like to slow down as well. So we can really make sure we're like receiving and grounding the wisdom that's coming through. Even just slowing down and spending time with the night sky or the morning sky. I believe over this Gemini season, I think it's about June 1st, Venus reaches her maximum elongation from the sun as her morning star part of the cycle. So, like, this is the time, go out before sunrise, see Venus towards the east, like, so much Venus wisdom coming in and like all of her morning star glory. So, there's just so much there. And it does feel like really important with because Gemini, right? It's a mental sign. And there's also a lot of that mental energy. We can have a lot of nervous system activation, but there's also a lot of Uranian activation this Gemini season, like just the days before the sun goes into Gemini, the sun conjuncts Uranus. Um, and then once we're in Gemini season, like Mercury's conjuncting Uranus, we have or not Saturn, we have Mars, building up to like a square to Uranus throughout Gemini season. And so when there's a lot of, you put kind of Mercurial Gemini energy plus Uranian activation, our nervous systems can really get lit up like a Christmas tree. And it can be very inspiring where we get new ideas, new insights. We're feeling inspired, but it can also sometimes be like, feel like too much energy is moving through us where we can like short circuit, where maybe we go into nervous system overwhelm. And so having like just like, right, Uranus is in or Taurus right now, the end of Taurus, like connecting with the earth, going out and getting your feet on the grass, leaning against a tree, like slowing down, being very intentional about giving somewhere for all of that. Like there's a lot of like light code, star information coming in, giving it somewhere to ground and integrate and not moving too fast and getting too ahead of ourselves is important. Like, be mindful, if you drink caffeine, be mindful to not overdo it because it can be like, we can get really excited, like, ooh, I'm zipping, zoom, zoom, zoom. I like got all this energy to do all these things, but then we can just really get out of balance nervous system wise. So really be gentle and mindful with your nervous system, grounding your energy. That feels really important. But there's a lot of like exciting it feels like a lot of, exciting, airy, like fast moving energy. Really, when we change, I love Carmen, you spoke about like our words, our spells. Like we can change our perception and we can change our life. And honestly, sometimes it's the very smallest ways we can shift our perception and choosing to have a new perception about a situation, like choosing to come back to a beginner's mindset. Gemini is a very relational sign. So even sometimes, often when we're dealing with our most intimate people with our life, like our family, if you have a romantic partner, maybe closest friends, we often see them through the lens of the past. Maybe past experiences with that person, or may often we're seeing them through the lens of like our childhood experiences and that past conditioning. And so we're often not seeing someone as they presently are. And we're always evolving. Like we're always evolving into new versions of ourselves. Other people are always evolving into new versions of ourselves. And oftentimes we're putting the overlay of trying to see someone through the past. So Gemini, if we can remember, come back to a beginner's mindset when we're interacting with people, particularly the closest people within our life, because when we choose to come to a beginner's mindset, it brings new possibilities into relationships and into everything and our lives, into our lives as well. And I just want to know, I think looking at the Engrush chart of a solar season can give us some insight into like what some of the energetic potentialities for the season. And as the sun moves into Gemini, we have a Venus Mars square, Venus in Aries, Mars in Leo, and then the exact square.
Prime.
Yeah, trine. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, trine, which is like so much, the more flowy, right? Like
Yes.
we like the trine, as we like the trines the way they feel a lot more typically. So, yeah, and that trine to Venus and Mars, this fire trine is building very strongly this last week of Taurus season. So if you're watching this before we start the Gemini season, we're really feeling it. And the exact,
May
gosh,
22nd.
yeah, yeah. So like right after the sun is moving into Gemini, we have the trine is perfecting. Venus catches up to Mars, like very Venus and Aries. She's like catching up to Mars, making that trine to Mars and Leo. And to me, that informs us this is informing us like to be there's an invitation to be kind of bold and courageous and assertive and to take action towards the desires of our heart, to take conscious, inspire, creative action towards the desires of our heart. Because that the fire sign and the Gemini air sign, like they're young. They're about taking action, about outward directed energy. So this is like on some level, there's an invitation to get really clear, like, what does my soul want? What are the values? What are the desires of my heart? And to be a little maybe bold and courageous about taking some aligned action towards those things.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, this has been so good. I just want to thank you both for being here and doing this. And I'm feeling like the summary, and maybe if you have something to add, a couple quick things, words to add to this, but playful magic. How are we engaging with intentional playful magic this month? That could kind of just sum up everything that's been said. So, is there anything anybody wants to add to that, or shall we complete?
I'm feeling into just all the fire, Saturn ingress and Chiron Eris and Saturn and Neptune getting close to each other and just really tuning into, are we living from the truth of our heart? And if we're not, what are we ready, willing, and able to do about that? So, and I think the Venus Mars trine that you spoke to can be definitely a big activation of what is that truth of my heart? It's like kicks off the month.
I love that. And I'm just feeling the invitation to can we come back to the beginner's mindset again and again and meet each moment as if it's a new moment and see the magic that comes from that place because all the possibility is really when we're truly in the present moment.
Yay. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So I hope everyone has a playful, magical beginning to see things in new ways month coming up, and we will catch you for the Cancer Solar Month. Bye, everyone.